It's Thursday, April 25th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On Barnstable Today, we get a look at tonight's Town Council agenda, explore the new traffic and parking patterns around Bismore Park and Ocean Street. Also on today's show, do you have a Barnstable's Best Dog and a Barnstable High School Student Spotlight. Now for a look at municipal and legislative news. It's official. The West Barnstable Shooting Range is now under the oversight of the Barnstable Police Department. The state has approved the plan proposed by Barnstable's town manager, Mark Ells, which will take 27 acres of town land out of conservation to offset the conservation land lost to the range. The Barnstable Police Department will have the responsibility of operations, safety improvements, and site cleanup. Use of the facility will be limited to the police department for the near future. Town Council President Jim Crocker joins us for a preview of the Council's agenda this evening. Town Council this week with me, President Jim Crocker. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
So this is the fun Town Council capital improvements.
Well, there's no question. Capital improvements are where the taxpayer really gets to see their money coming back to the community, providing services and big money projects in the town.
So this one is Department of Public Works, 7 villages. We all get something, right?
Well, Department of Public Works, you just look first at education,
right.
Second police, and then DPW. So the budget's really big for DPW, but they have a huge job trying to manage all these projects as they go out the door.
Right. What are some of the notable projects that are out there?
Well, you're always looking at any road improvement programs and road runoff programs. Those are issues that are paramount to the survival of the road system. We have a program that we go out and we rate the road systems, and we know when the road is aging and when you can save it with a minor improvement and when you really need to tear it all down and start over with a major program. Also then you're looking at DPW, looking at things that are in conjunction with other process. Like this particular year, we're talking about a very big dig in conjunction with the wind turbines off Cape. So there's all kinds of issues that propped up that weren't even in their forecast 2 or 3 years earlier, and then they become a huge issue for us in the upcoming year.
Right. And when we talk about, the bang for the taxpayer buck, a lot of folks, we tend to be village-centric here in the town of Barnstable. But there's the town as a whole really looks at public safety for one, like you said, the streets for the other, and then some of the things for DPW actually really come back to wastewater as well.
Well, there's no question the wastewater issue is going to be our #1 issue as we go forward, and I don't believe there's a bigger spending project than on wastewater. We have huge issues right now trying to make sure that we have safe drinking potable water, but we also have long-term projections of wastewater into the future. And we're trying to get out to Route 28 in our most recent runs so that we can have the commercial sector perhaps help us in advancing our infrastructure, and in return we'll end up with some housing or things that we really need as we go forward.
Right. And we know that the town manager has been talking about PFAS. Will that be addressed in this town council meeting at all?
It will. He's going to bring forward a pretty good discussion on the issue, and what people really have to be grateful for is the professional approach that he and the Hyannis Water District have brought to this problem. I had a chance to be involved on the inside with leadership, and I've had several discussions, even as high as the Commissioner of DEP just recently, this morning, regarding opening up an opportunity for us to drill and test for wellheads out in the fish and wild game area. The importance of that is that our infrastructure is already there, but we believe that the fish and wildlife issue is up the hill, so we won't be influenced by contaminants. So it's really key that we have an opportunity to drill those. And when you look at that, Hyannis is an area that was always the privately held water company. So now we're looking at it from a real strategic issue of how do we best serve the constituents who need the drinking water, and how do we serve the area. And when you do that, you have to look at every site possible that's 6 acres or more, which meets the requirements for the DEP wellhead. So there's a number of testings that will go forward, and you try to clump all them together so you get economies of scale when you send the testing group out.
Wow.
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah, and again, part of the PFAS issues, you know, is it's a shared water system for everybody. So addressing it, not just here in Hyannis, but across the town as well.
Well, PFAS is a funny contaminant because what has happened is at the national level, the EPA has chosen to drop a testing percentage on PFAS. And PFAS is a compound that comes forward for the Cape because of the foam from firefighter work. But PFAS in towns such as Hudson, Massachusetts, is specific to Teflon and actually making pacemakers. So you can have a real pointed identification of the source, or you could have a situation like us where we've had long-term access for firefighters up in that area.
Right. Anything else of notable interest on the agenda this morning?
Well, we moved pickleball, so we're off the hook on that one. We almost filled the auditorium with pickleball,
Right.
but I'm happy. It seems to be a great program forward. Right. But we've got a whole bunch of issues left, and they are going to be presented by DEP, but they obviously go off against Park and Rec. They go off against a number of areas where the constituent will see dollars returning to their neighborhoods. So it's an exciting time when we start to look at access to beaches and have our pet projects come to life. You have to get in line. You have to wait because there's never enough money. But the exciting thing is if you wait, and if your project keeps climbing, you're going to end up in the top of the heap, and we're going to do some good in your neighborhood.
Excellent. 7 p.m. Thursday night.
Oh, be there, be square.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Headed over to Daffodil Weekend on Nantucket, taking the Highline Ferry. There are some new parking and traffic flow considerations for the Ocean Street docks. Liz Hartsgrove, Assistant Director of Planning, has the park happy details. One of the paramount things here at the town of Barnstable is public safety. And as the summer ramps up and we start to get ready for the crush of tourism that we see every year, with me today, Liz Hartsgrove is going to talk about Bismore Park and that area of traffic and public pedestrians. It's a zoo down there some days.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So you just recently went in front of town council to get them to understand and appropriate some money to kind of change some traffic patterns down there and maybe the way that people have done things for years. So let's talk about what is the problem and then what we're going to do to address it.
Yeah, it's a good problem. Let's just be out in front with it. It's a really good problem to be in because we're doing our job of being good partners with Highline, and we're just be able to accommodate all of these new uses and existing uses that demands of traffic and transportation down there. So we have, the ferries. And then we have personal vehicles, we have taxis and Ubers, which are new this year, or the past couple of years. It's really expanded and had a great impact and change of dynamic down there. So we're making accommodations for that. We have large capacity vehicles, the shuttles to take people over to auxiliary lots that are farther outside of the downtown core area, which is what was in the parking study and recommendations, is that we need to start be dependent upon areas that are outside of the core area. So we're making accommodations for that as well. And then RTA with the trolley, the complimentary trolley that they have every year, we want to make sure that the public safety is our #1 concern. And so when you have all of those modes of transportation all like going for the same little bit of spot of land, we need to do something, and that's what this proposal is.
Okay, and then not to mention pedestrians either coming off the boat or being down in Bismarck Park, really not paying attention to what's going on. There's just so much movement down there with vehicles and people. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the new traffic patterns. Let's start with your large capacity vehicles, the trolleys, the shuttles, and the buses.
Yeah, those are, right now everyone is trying to actually go maneuver through the lot on the south end of Bismore Park that's abutting the Highline property. They all actually, because it's an easy in, easy out, it's not as constricted as the Highline lot. And so they have, out of habit, over years and years of accepting that this is the way to do it, they are using our property to go in and out. So we have all of these very large vehicles that are for passengers that are over like 15 people. So when you think of 15 or 50 some people in one single vehicle, and then you have all those other smaller vehicles and pedestrians. So you have the tour buses, you have the school buses, you have the shuttles and the trolleys. We're actually going to carve out onto Ocean Street a space for them where the passengers can load and unload onto the sidewalk, and then have the easy access to get to Highline or whatever other direction that they're planning on going.
Right. And this is handicap accessible.
It is, and we're going to be establishing actually bus stop signs for easy identification of where the buses or the trolleys or shuttles are going to be stopping. And then we also are going to be installing park benches for comfort as well.
Right. So let's go down the line here. The Ubers and the Lyfts, which has been good in one way because it's alleviated some parking issues, but then has created some of its own issues with standing vehicles.
Yeah.
They're waiting for people to come in. So let's talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, rideshare, or as the state calls them, TNCs, Transportation Network Companies. And we have definitely, in the last year, have seen a great deal of increase with the TNC operators, and they're there year-round. Actually, I was on my cell phone back in February after a town council meeting, and I noticed 5 at 11 o'clock at night down there. And so it's interesting to see how this is becoming a year-round mode of transportation that is very popular with our residents and guests here. So it is something that we need to be looking for to accommodate and make sure that they have a nice little niche as well that people can easily, pedestrians can walk to, or that the vehicles can come to the pedestrians.
And where will they be located?
We're carving out for taxis, liveries, and the TNC operators, as well as personal vehicles that are coming to wait for their passengers to come off the ferry system, or even they're coming from like a restaurant, or they want to stay at the shanties for any special event that's occurring down at Bismore Park. They will have a waiting area along Nantucket Street that they can then, contact through their cell phone. So it's going to be called a cell waiting area. So, yeah.
What else do you want people to know about these new changes? How is this going to be communicated? This, we're creatures of habit.
Yes, we are.
Right? So, there's this public awareness that has to happen. I'm sure you've covered that.
Yeah, well, we're going to. So right here at Channel 18, we're going to continue to communicate through you and make sure that everybody is aware of the changes as we continue to implement them, because it will be in a strategic manner. We're not going to just plop it down in one fell swoop. We have to actually do it in system. So, and then we're going to be going out to each of the user groups and identify and let them know and ask questions, and really, and that way we can also make accommodations and changes through the season. If we don't have that communication, ongoing open communication, it's not going to work. So, so We've included Highline. We're going to be doing training with all of our staff down there, as well as incorporating Highline down there with all of the training, and also with signage, that kind of stuff, that we're going to be really doing a tremendous amount of outreach to people.
Right. And even before they get to Ocean Street, there'll be some information that motorists will be aware of, that things are changing.
Yeah, so that we are going to be, I don't want them investing, and I don't want to circle around the block. When you go to a community, you want to be able to be set up for success. And so it's a nice, smooth process, and less anxiety and less concern. So we're going to be actually placing signage. We're working with engineering and the traffic department of the police, and identifying locations so we can place signage, information signage, so people can go down the right roads, the correct roads, and be able to get to the places that they need to go safely.
Right. And I just want to mention that this is a pilot program,
Yeah.
so changes probably are going to be identified.
Yes, it is. So this is just phase one. We're going to try it out and get it, and see what works and what doesn't work. I'm very confident that the waiting area is going to be something that's a welcome, but we need to make sure that signage is identified to help people get to that location if they're going to be walking to meet up with a cell phone waiting area, whether it be a taxi or whatever. So we need to make sure that we're doing it right. So again, like I said, we want to set up these businesses, all of them, for success, and the pedestrians and the user groups. So I want to make sure that open communication is welcome.
Great. Anything I didn't ask?
Well, we have staff down there that are going to be there. So we have gateway greeters already established there, but we're going to be increasing the staffing this year. So to make sure that, pedestrians, that's really the big number one, and making sure also the harbor master activity down there is safely operating, because we want to make sure that those boats have access to the services that they are in need of, or getting the fish loads off, or getting the oil onto their boats. Those are things that is in the same core area and demanding of the space. So we want to make sure that, so we have staff in place that we can direct passengers or pedestrians and keep them out of harm's way. And that requires police details, extensive amount of help from the gateway greeters, as well as the pros, the parking resource officers, and the harbor master's office. So again, as I mentioned, with the training, that's going to be part of it, and Highline staff is going to be on their property helping pedestrians get around the block of land there. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's an exciting summer.
It is. I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be so welcome and clean for everyone to understand. So,
thanks so much, Liz.
thank you, Paula.
Who's a good dog? Well, the town of Barnstable wants to know who the best dog is. It's that time of year to renew your Best Pals license and enter the Best Dog Contest. Town Clerk Ann Quirk has all the details. Woof! It's that time of year again, ready for Barnstable's Best Dog. Dog licenses renewals are coming up May 1st. With me today, Town Clerk Ann Quirk, with all the details to get your dog as a Best Dog of Barnstable. Hi.
Hi.
I love this time of year.
Me too.
The town clerk's office is always just this huge board of like the cutest dogs you've ever seen. So tell us a little bit about how Barnstable Best Dog got started and really what the contest is all about.
You know, it started several years ago, and the idea was the person whose dog gets the most votes gets their #1 dog tag for the town of Barnstable and a free dog license for the year. So it was kind of to get people to come in and to actually
Get the dog
dog's license, because that's a state law, so we have to do it. So it was just, that was the whole idea behind it to start with, and it's become a huge thing for the town. And not only that, now the town of Dennis is doing it too.
Copycatters or copy doggers.
Copy doggers, yes.
So tell us a little bit about how long this contest runs and how do you get entered?
So, starting April 1st, which is already come and gone,
Right.
I can't believe it, but it has, people can start sending in their application for a dog license for the year, a check made out to the town of Barnstable, and a picture of their dog. If they write on the back of the picture, which we really need, is their name and the dog's name, so that we can get that back to them with the dog license. Now, we do also ask that they include a stamped self-addressed envelope so that we have no problem getting everything back where it belongs.
Okay.
Now, as soon as they do that, we're going to start posting them on our bulletin board, as you suggested, and we'll start numbering the dogs. And as people come in to do business licenses, dog licenses, marriages, whatever, we ask if they'd like to vote for Barnstable's Best Dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, see, I've entered my dogs year in and year out. I've never won. What's the key to winning this contest?
Well, first of all, you can't win because you're a town employee.
Now, yeah.
now. So the key is the votes. It really is. And to the point where we've had people come in every day to vote for their dog. So, you know, you just have to have that kind of time that you can stop by Town Hall and cast another ballot.
Right. So talk a little bit about, we're leading up into this dog license period as well. We have a new dog park in town. Dog license are required there, so tell citizens out there and residents how that dog license works.
Well, the dog license, you have to have one in order to enter the park. Okay. The whole point behind the dog licenses was to make sure that people had their dogs up to date with their health, with their rabies shots and things like that. That was how it all started years and years and years ago. So it's just making sure that when you go to the dog park, your dog has all its shots, and every other dog there does too. So there's no question, right. You know, because sometimes they go off leash. You know, you want to be able to do that. You don't want any problems. No one does.
Right.
So that is part of it, and there will be people watching. And if you're there with a dog that doesn't have a dog license, expect to be approached by a dog officer, and if you don't have your information, they can take the dog and impound the dog until you have all the information. Right. And we don't want that to happen, and we don't want fines. And we can fine you. We can fine at least $50 for an unregistered dog. So, and that fee is going up, I understand, through the state. So. Okay. It's best to get your dog licensed.
So let's talk a little bit about the requirements for license. I know from previous experience that you need a current rabies certificate.
Correct.
Okay.
And also on your information from the vet, it does state whether the dog is spayed or neutered. Okay. If a dog is spayed or neutered, it's a $7 charge. I think we're one of the lowest ones on Cape Cod for that. And it's $10 for a male or female. Okay. And it's a good for a year. And we have to go back. If you have had the dog and you haven't licensed in the previous year, you have to license the dog. We have to go through that process too. But for the most part, people are pretty good about licensing their dogs. So, you know, it's just a year-to-year thing.
All right. One more question for you, and this one comes from our videographer assistant who's got a brand new puppy. Oh, little Josie. He got her a dog license in January. Does he need one in May too?
Yes, because January was for last fiscal year. So starting July 1 is our new fiscal year, so you have to have a new dog tag for 2019.
Okay, and one more time, Barnstable Best Dog, you need a picture. And what's on the back of the picture?
Your name and address, and your dog's name.
Okay.
Because we want to be able to put that up on the website too. Okay. And then a stamped, self-addressed envelope for us to send it back to you, along with the rabies information and a check made out to the town of Barnstable.
Okay. And how long does this contest run?
It will run until we start selling licenses May 1st. Actually, we'll probably start selling the licenses the following week. By May the 3rd, we will have the vote. So we'll know who's going to get number 1.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ann.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Up next, a student spotlight produced by the talented crew at Barnstable High School B2B Studio. Never doubt that the youth of Barnstable can change the world.
I'm Colleen Ellis. I'm a senior and I go to Barnstable High School. I've always been a very advocative kind of person, so I've always liked representing other people. I've always liked public speaking. It got to a point where I realized, my own voice, I can spread that and I can spread the change, and I really loved seeing how I can make a difference in the community. One person had asked me actually, can you be on the Cape Cod Student Board? And then I got promoted to chair, and that got me kind of, I wouldn't even say over my head, but definitely in the deep end of politics. So I use technology and social media because it's a lot hard to just ask someone to do something or inspire people face-to-face. Well, that works when you're talking at the March for Our Lives or talking at a press conference with the school committee, but social media connects everybody of almost all ages. So I started the Barnstable Enough account because we needed a better way to communicate with students. I created it to better represent Barnstable and kind of make it more of a, this is our movement, this isn't my movement. Gun control is a topic that we need to talk about because it's hard to talk about. There's no solution to a problem that only happens in America. There aren't school shootings in Sweden, there aren't school shootings other places. Why is it only America? Why is it only here? And why are we just normalizing it? Like, why is it blown up by the media? Why does it keep happening? Students that are shot dead, they don't come back for your high school reunion 10 years later. I march for them and I march for the kids, and I live my high school experiences for the kids who can't have them. And I stand up for them and their voice because they don't have one anymore. The entire walkout march, I had to present it to the school committee, town council, stuff like that to get it approved. And all the adults would give us standing ovations. We won Democrat of the Year award. We got recognition from the Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives. Adults respect the hell out of kids who want to make a difference in this world. It's not that hard to change the world. You just have to stand up for yourself and do it.
Reminder, Town Council tonight, 7 p.m., second floor hearing room right here at Town Hall, or from the comfort of your own home on Channel 18. Up next, things to do, places to go, and people to meet. The Cape Cod Mini Maker Fair is a gathering of fascinating, curious people who enjoy learning and who love sharing what they can do. From engineers to artists to scientists to crafters, Maker Fair is a venue for these makers to show hobbies, experiments, and projects. This is an awesome, free, family-friendly event, a true celebration of the maker movement on Cape Cod. This Saturday at Mashpee High School, 10 to 4. Wouldn't you like to be a maker too? Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Email us or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works for you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.